Go Go Gadget episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. Hey everybody, this is Cave Cat again. I bet you're wondering why I said Go Go Gadget at the beginning. Because for today's episode, I'll be talking about Inspector Gadget. Unlike a lot of the other episodes of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews that I've done in the past, this one was suggested to me by fellow YouTuber Ghost Spirit 18, who also goes by SRMTHFGFan724 on DeviantArt. I never thought to do a review of this show until she suggested this one to me a while back, and I want to thank her for that. Anyway, to start off, Inspector Gadget was the very first animated series created and produced by Deke Entertainment and was released in September 1983 and ran in syndication until November 1985. So what's the show about? It's about the titular Inspector Gadget, a cyborg police inspector who has a vast array of various gadgets stored within his body, which he can use at his disposal in order to help solve the crime at hand. However, while Inspector Gadget does have a pretty good arsenal of various gadgets, there's actually one big problem. He's very clumsy, incompetent, and rather clueless, despite being lauded as the top-ranking agent of the secret police organization that he works for, which is run by his superior, Chief Quimby. In actuality, the cases that Inspector Gadget has to solve end up being solved by his niece Penny and family dog Brain. Because Penny is very intelligent despite her young age, while Brain is also equally intelligent and capable of using various disguises while trailing Inspector Gadget to ensure that he stays out of harm's way. The main antagonist of the entire series is Dr. Claw, the ruler of an evil organization known as MAD, the name being an acronym for mean and dirty. Each episode, Dr. Claw will come up with a grand scheme to either take over Metro City or to steal any kind of valuables from other places around the world. So Inspector Gadget is called in to try and stop Dr. Claw from carrying out whatever scheme he has concocted. However, little does Gadget know that he has no idea on how to actually solve the case, which means that it's up to Penny and Brain to actually solve the case themselves, all while ensuring that Inspector Gadget still retains his reputation as being a top agent of the police organization. I remember first watching the show back when I was very young, and even back then I actually found myself enjoying the show, especially when it began rerunning on Nickelodeon. In a way, the show actually takes some inspiration from the $6 Million Man, being that both shows involve the main protagonist getting into an accident that requires him to get extensive surgery that gives him various bionic implants, or rather, various gadgets in the case of Inspector Gadget. In fact, speaking of which, the pilot actually showed how Inspector Gadget came to be. He was an ordinary police investigator until he ended up slipping on a banana peel, which caused him to get hurt very badly. So ended up having to get rebuilt, having a huge array of gadgets implanted into his body, turning him into a robotic super crime fighter, though not exactly super. Also in the pilot, Inspector Gadget originally had a mustache, but Deke got sued by MGM under the claims that the mustache made Inspector Gadget look too much like Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther films, or even the Inspector from his self-titled shorts by DePatty Frayling. So Deke got rid of the mustache and had Inspector Gadget go clean-shaven. Even in spite of this, the show is really fun and enjoyable, because you can't help but laugh good-heartedly at all the antics that Inspector Gadget gets himself into while bumbling about on the case, almost like Socrates from Adventures from the Book of Virtues in a way, but slightly different. But even in spite of his cluelessness when on the case, he is also a loving family man, especially to Penny and Brain. This show also has quite a number of running gags, such as Gadget being given a message by a disguised Chief Quimby explaining his latest mission before giving the message back to Quimby, despite being told that the message will self-destruct before the message explodes right in Quimby's face, Gadget trying to call for one of his gadgets only for the wrong gadget to be summoned instead, and Brain assuming various disguises to try and keep Gadget out of trouble, only for Gadget to mistake him for a mad agent and try to catch him. Even though the show only lasted for 2 seasons, it still proved popular enough to be rerun on Nickelodeon, as I've mentioned before, and especially spawning several direct-to-video specials, such as Inspector Gadget Saves Christmas, Inspector Gadget's Last Case, and Inspector Gadget's Biggest Caper Ever, as well as spin-off series such as Gadget Boy, Inspector Gadget's Field Trip, and Gadget and the Gadgetinis. Not to mention that Disney also produced a live-action film based on the Inspector Gadget series, especially considering the fact that Disney owned Deke Entertainment for a while, even though the film ended up bombing at the box office. One of the reasons for this is because the film ended up contradicting a lot of things from the original series. First off, instead of slipping on a banana peel like in the original pilot, Inspector Gadget, who went by the name John Brown in the film, ended up getting caught in an explosion while attempting to pursue Dr. Claw, who went by the name Sanford Skolex. And there's also the fact that instead of being completely hidden in the shadows like in the original series, Dr. Claw actually has his face revealed to the audience, looking nothing like he did in the cartoon, as well as being referred to as just Claw instead of Dr. Claw. However, even in spite of the film being a box office bomb, it ended up getting a direct-to-video sequel known as Inspector Gadget 2, which kept true to the spirit of the original 80s cartoon, but still wasn't really all that great, even if I never saw the sequel. And there's also the fact that the show got a reboot back in 2015, which I never saw and never will. I also like the voice cast for the original cartoon. Don Adams did a great job voicing Inspector Gadget, giving him that clueless yet determined air about him, reminiscent of when he played Maxwell Smart in Get Smart, or even when he voiced the eponymous character of Tennessee Tuxedo. Cree Summer did a great job voicing Penny, years before she would go on to voice Claude Duane from the Garbage Pail Kids cartoon, along with Elmira Duff from Tiny Toon Adventures. And finally, we have Frank Welker doing triple duty as Brain, Dr. Claw, and especially Dr. Claw's cat, Mad Cat. And boy, does he pull off amazing performances for all three. For Brain, he really has that dog-like atmosphere about him, in almost a similar manner as that of Scooby-Doo. For Dr. Claw, Welker gives him that menacing and sinister feeling that can really send chills down one's spine. And finally, for Mad Cat, you could tell that Welker was able to put his creature voices to good use, giving Mad Cat that authentic cat-like air, and I love it. In spite of the fact that I have not seen the show in years, I still look back on it rather fondly, what with the concept of a bumbling and dim-witted cyborg police investigator. Deke Entertainment really put their best foot forward with the show, and it really shows. The success of the show ended up leading to other Deke Entertainment shows being produced and released, such as The Littles, The Get Along Gang, Kid Video, Rainbow Bright, Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, Kissy Fur, Popples, Dennis the Menace, The Real Ghostbusters, which I previously did a review of, and many, many others. I really love everything about the show, whether it's the characters, the plot, or especially the concept. It's good to know that a lot of shows back in the 80s and the 90s had some pretty good concepts back then, compared to today's shows being aired on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, or especially Disney Channel. But either way, I will give Inspector Gadget 8 stars. So there's been news that Disney is producing a brand new Inspector Gadget film, even in spite of the previous live-action ones not doing too well, and especially after Disney no longer owns the rights to Deke Entertainment. For this one, I don't know if the filmmakers will either stay true to the source material or if they'll just completely change a lot of things around that completely contradict the source material, like they did with the previous live-action films. After all, it's like I mentioned before in my review of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Sometimes live-action films based on old shows can really mess things up from the source material, even though there are rare cases where they actually get things right when adapting the source material, such as the Mission Impossible films. Maybe there's a good chance that Disney might possibly learn from the fiasco regarding the 1999 live-action film and actually do a better job with the new reboot film, but we'll just have to wait and see as time goes on. Well, anyway, that's a wrap for this episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. As mentioned before, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more episodes or whatever video that I might possibly do next. But anyway, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.